be heard. And I'll shut it off when you start carrying it around.
DSL, like the lowest 7 through the phone.
Airpoint says it's the best there is none better.
I don't have the best DSL. Mine's pretty good, but it's not the best.
I have the best, and I had to switch my TV back to DirecTV because we couldn't do internet TV and all the streaming.
It depends on whether you're buying or selling.
What do what?
Depends on whether you're buying or selling.
The seller says it's the best. Says not really.
All right, so are we ready?
First dog, so that's the one that with the devil.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah. That's still how.
Yep.
You know, Bill.
I know Bill.
Yeah. I know Bill. Isn't that fertilizer?
Yeah, I know Bill.
Oh, Bill.
All right, so I'll call the meeting to order. It's 1931. All right, do the members of the board have any conflict of interest to disclose? All right. Do board members have any changes to the agenda?
We add the farmer's market to the agenda later.
All right, so Jeff, you said farmer's market?
Yeah, I have a couple public comments and it should probably be its own thing.
Okay,
Who else is on
so
Zoom?
we'll put that down there later.
Is anybody else on Zoom?
Your audio is really breaking up.
For at some point.
Yeah, so, all right, so Kate, do you want to take
Later.
get names of the folks who are there?
Okay. On Zoom.
Yeah.
Yep, on Zoom.
One second, keep admitting people. Okay, so on Zoom, we have Tessa Huxley, Dion Parker, Jeff Clayton, Heidi Chapman, Kate Thomas, Keisha and Jonathan Meyer, Patricia Campbell, Devin Thurston. And then if the people whose first and last names aren't on Zoom, if they could identify themselves, I have somebody named Trev.
Trev Huxley, I'm Tessa's brother. We
Oh.
have the town farm.
Thank you, Trev Huxley. Charlotte. Okay, we'll wait to see if Charlotte comes on. Charlotte Mullen. Thank you, Charlotte. Cheryl's iPad.
Carol O'Donnell.
Cheryl O'Donnell. Thank you. Marianne just joined. And then we've got someone listed just as iPhone. And I don't think we'll be able to get that person. All right, can the caller with the 1232 number identify themselves? Can the caller with the 4847 number identify themselves? Okay, Dixon Corbett also just joined. Dixon Corbett just joined. All right, that's all we're gonna get. And Steve Thomas. Okay, I'll just write down any additional ones. Yeah.
Thank you. So I know we have a lot of folks here today. What I want to remind everyone is how we're going to do this. We're going to take public comments. We're going to try to stick as close to our agenda as possible. So the first item
You've dropped out.
to please, don't just take one online. Just will not date if we had to pick up the Robert Button item or other things in the agenda
we would.
and the board members will not debate each other unless it's a motion. When we get to that, we have
So
our
I guess the
item
first
on the agenda.
point we have is
So I
Robert
guess the
Button
first
concerned
point
about
we have
surface
is
water overflowing
Robert
town
Button
drains,
concerned about surface
flooding
water
property
overflowing town drains,
is
flooding
Bob
property.
Button here.
Is Bob Button here?
All right.
All right.
So I'll follow up with him on that.
On that. All right, so the next thing we have here is a ATV.
You're cutting out.
Good place for us to start. Let's start with folks in the room. A comment. Kate will go around with the computer phone and, take your comments on the ATV proposal.
Kate, you're
Here?
muted.
Can be here. All right, who wants to go first?
And this is your, like I said, this is your opportunity to provide public comment because the board will debate the issue when we get down.
Hey, Trevor. Hey, Andy.
All right, are you muted all you guys?
Yep, I am.
Okay.
Hi, Andy Pomerantz, and one question is, what is the proposal? And I was here back in June, and you said there was no proposal, and there would be time to talk when there was one. Do we know exactly what it is?
Well, we're gonna go over that during that agenda item.
Oh, okay, so we're just talking about
Do you wanna
18.
hold public comment and ATVs until that agenda item?
We could, so.
Because maybe people would like to hear the information for
Okay.
their comments, that might make
Okay,
sense.
so we're just talking about ATVs on town roads, period. If there's no proposal. I just have a couple of comments about that. Number one, as far as class 3 roads go, any manufacturer or official sportsman's association representative will tell you that these are not safe on road to be on roads where there are cars. They are unstable. They don't make quick maneuvers very easily. They can easily roll over, and most deaths are from accidents that took place on traveled roads. The second thing is, I think that if you're going to start opening Chelsea roads, you owe Williamstown an opportunity. They came to the board years ago when I was the board chair, and for reason number one, we said no, because they weren't safe. And then the third thing, if you decide you want to open the class 4 roads and trails, which is, I think, more common, I think that the users should be held accountable and responsible for maintenance. I think the snow machine clubs put a lot of effort into road maintenance for those roads that otherwise are not used. And I think the ATVs, I know people here are the kind of people who would help themselves do that. That's all I have to say.
I'll make one comment. I was,
One moment. We're gonna do everybody in the room first, then we'll move on to Zoom.
didn't know
Thank
there were
you.
people in there. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to speak? Pardon me.
Hi, my name's Matt Kies. I live on Town Farm Road. And I just like to say that we got quite a bit of ATV traffic on the road already. I've seen quite a few go by, and we've had caravans even of 15 or 20 of them sometimes. And it's very noisy. When they come up the road, they have to come up the hill, and you can hear them come for a half a mile away, even if they're going 15 or 20 miles an hour. It's still very noisy. And I really don't want my road turned into an ATV trail. I don't.
Well, what do you want to do? Can you hear the proposal? Or we have an agenda item for that. This is the public comment.
So the question I have for the board members is, if there's no objection from the board, we can move the ATV proposal to now. And then it'll be proposed to us, and everyone has the benefit of it. Then we'll open that piece up right there for public comments and question and answer, whatever, but and I think it'll work that way. So does the board have any objection to that? None? All right.
My only objection would be, should we just see if anybody has a public comment pertaining to something else?
Sounds good. So we'll do that. Does anyone have public comments pertaining to anything other than the button and the ATV proposal? Or anything else really?
Well, that having that, I'm John Alexander, I live up on Beacon Hill. And a lot of ATVs go by and never had any problem with them. I agree with Andy, going down the road fast on an ATV is unstable and unsafe. I think most people that ride on the dirt roads realize that if you're driving an ATV. As far as the class 4 roads go, under current Vermont law, any road that is not maintained during the winter time is open to ATVs. What we do not here have in Chelsea is any access to a class 4 road or any access to get out of town to the trails that are available to us. There are trails available to us in Berkshire, in Washington, and it's the old saying, you can't get there from here. Okay, and you know, I think that's where I'm headed. I'd like to be able to not have to sneak around if I want to drive my 4-wheeler and get over to the trail system. Right now, you can't do it. And obviously, people have to obey the rules of the road and drive as normal, responsible adults. I think you'll find that most of the ATV drivers out there that I've met anyway, out on the trails, are old farts like me.
All right, so thank you. So Mary Ellen, you'll take it away here to get that proposal.
Yeah,
and then
so,
we'll go from
Doug
there.
Stone is here with us tonight. Doug Stone is here with us tonight, and he originally came forward from the, sorry, I don't know the exact name, the Berkshire ATV Club, but it might be Berkshire West Fairleigh ATV Club, West Shire Club. And he first approached the board about a certain segment of town from that club's request because it links their trail. So Doug will, I passed out Doug the maps that you provided me so that people can kind of see where the trails are now. This is the map that kind of shows that corner for people that don't know.
South of 113, and on the side of 110, so that quadrant we're talking about, Denver Road and General Road and all those connecting roads through there. Doug will tell you exactly what he is requesting.
I came to the board and asked to come into some parts of Chelsea from our trail system, basically off MacGyver Road and Taylor Valley Road and Turnpike. As you've been mentioned already, there's a lot of riding in Chelsea already. They're easy access. I just chose the corner south of 113 and down 110. So it's that corner that I originally asked for. It just gives us some loops in there. Some are class 3, some are class 4s. So that's basically what I asked for. Just some riding in Chelsea. The select board was gracious enough to have this discussion about it. So this is where we're at. So it's up to the town of Chelsea and up to the select board.
Thank you.
In Chelsea, we have to create an ordinance. So this discussion tonight will kind of lead the board whether we're going to draft a draft ordinance or not. That ordinance process will be warned in our hearing agendas. It will, take everybody's input. So at that time, other clubs could potentially request roads. The outcome of that process would be a written ordinance that has the specific requirements, limitations, and lists the roads that the vehicles can ride on. So everybody's aware, we're not going to leave tonight with a yes or no whether you can ride ATVs on the roads in Chelsea. This is just the start of the discussion to lead the select board down the road to create an ordinance or not, basically. I welcome everybody's comments. And I think we'll take them with this point.
Okay, yep. So does anyone who hasn't spoke, who hasn't talked already, okay, I'll unmute myself. So does anyone who hasn't talked already have any comments?
All right.
I'm Bob Fernier, Town Farm Road, and the question is, in 2016, this came up, and the board was sufficiently unsettled about what to do, and they referred it to town meeting. Does this have any chance of coming before town meeting? Because I believe the 2016 town meeting decided that they didn't want to do that, didn't want to open the roads.
All right, so if, was it 5% of the voters decide to hold a town meeting, then the voters can ask us to hold a town meeting, and this can be put on the article. If the select board member makes a motion and a motion carries, that we add this to the town meeting, then we could do that as well.
Thank you. And so I request that the board consider that as part of this question, because it involves more than just the few roads that are represented here. And another key point is Town Farm Road is different from other roads in town in that it is especially narrow and especially twisting. And my sense is that ATVs are not required to have mufflers, are not required to be registered. The drivers are not required to be licensed. So there's no municipal enforcement of responsible behavior. And what would bother me is if I was going down the road and came around the corner and the speed limit on that road, by the way, is 30 or 35 miles an hour, which is way too fast, that if I run into an ATV rider and it's on my conscience that I've struck somebody, I'll be looking to this board for why I'm in that situation. I do not want to be there.
Could I address something on that, please?
I don't think we're not going to do debate, right? We're not debating each other.
Taking comments and
Yes.
questions. If you have a question for Doug, that's welcome as well.
And just let me, the other thing is that area is a particularly quiet area. And what you folks are considering doing is altering that, which does not enhance my property value at all. It's not unlike a taking. And I would like the board to explain as during their debate why they're even considering this when there is a safety issue and an annoyance factor to have joyriders be on a quiet road. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Sir?
Can I speak yet or no?
We'll address the Zoom after the public. Here, thank you.
Arthur Goodrich. I'm here to, first of all, they do have to be registered. And insured. So I just wanted to correct that. I've lived here 71 years. I know I served with Andy, I believe, on the select board when this was a big debate back a few years ago, a long time ago. And then here just a few years ago, it came up again. And I don't see why the people in this town, I want people to move in. I've never been against people moving into this town. I'm one of the few that welcome people. But we gotta all get along and use the roads that we pay for. Every one of us pays for these roads. If you want a private road, do like I did. Buy on top of a mountain, put your own road in, and I gotta maintain it. I've had 3 places I had to maintain my road. It was a town road, class 4, but I had to maintain it. And I don't see why it bothers people. I'm sorry, I'd probably like to go out. I got one and I ride it and I don't go over 30 miles an hour. But what scares me are the cars on the road that's coming at you and coming up behind you, and they gotta go
they don't respect the back roads of speed. And I think the ATV and UTVs, drivers, people, clubs, they respect and will maintain the roads that you say that they don't maintain. And because they want to use them. You know, they take responsibility. There is a group that will take responsibility. It isn't just, you know, me for myself. Yet, that's all I got to say.
Thank you.
Hi, so I'm Greg Heron. My wife and I live up on Town Farm Road. We're pretty new to town, but I'm actually originally from Randolph, grew up there, spent the last 30 years all over the world, had the opportunity to repatriate to anywhere in the United States, and we chose to come back here. And the reason we chose to come here was specifically because it is peaceful and it's quiet. And we were trying to escape from all of that noise and traffic and the other nuisances that we had everywhere else that we lived. I know rural communities aren't immune to noise. You know, we understand and we're supportive of the forestry work and the farming and the hunting that people use to put food on their table. We're totally fine with that. But I've also lived near a recreational trail before here in Vermont. And it is annoying to people that don't participate in and don't enjoy that sport. And we looked really carefully when we were considering moving here. We looked at the vast trail maps. We looked at the Vasa trail maps, and we saw that there was nothing around us. We had no expectation that this windy, narrow, dirt, steep road would ever have anything other than a little bit of local traffic, an occasional leaf peeper in the fall. And that's what drew us here. That's why we wanted to come here. And when we look at this, right, this is a big change to that. And my ask for the board's consideration, I know you got to listen to all the different opinions, and some people are for it, some people are against it, some people don't really care one way or the other. I just ask that you put a little bit more weight into the opinions of those that have to live here, because I don't want you to take away our peace and quiet and the lifestyle that we chose that brought us here and trade that for other people's recreation. Thank you.
Who would like to go next?
My name is Tim Ward. I actually live up in the town of Berkshire. Own a couple of pieces of property here in town. And that's why I'm here, is because I figure if my tax dollars are going to be spent in this town, I'd like my voice to be heard. Also been a member of the Berkshire Volunteer Fire Department since 1980 when we established. And over the course of time, we've seen a few accidents from time to time. A fact, in the past 2 years, the Berkshire Fire and Rescue has not responded to one single ATV accident on a town road. Documented are 2 accidents with ATVs on someone's lawn that might have been indulged in one too many adult beverages, but it was not on a town road. My family also owns property, which is one of the parking areas that has been established in the town of Berkshire on the McIver Road, where people can access it with trucks, trailers, unload ATVs, and get tied into the trail system. From a landowner's point of view, no disrespect whatsoever. There has been no trash. There has been nothing torn up. There has been nothing left behind whatsoever. I feel that one of the biggest challenges, not only the town of Berkshire is faced with, but the town of Chelsea and other surrounding communities, is change. Growing up at a young age, I probably knew 90% and could name 90% of the families in the town of Berkshire. Was I happy with all of that change over the past 56 years? Absolutely not. I learned to adapt to it. I learned to find somewhere to meet in the middle. And I saw things out there that I might not agree with. Once I stepped away from the fire a little bit and realized the concern and the advantages of snowmobiles, people hunting, even being asked not to hunt on property that my grandparents and great-grandparents had owned when I was a kid.
I respected that. And meeting somewhere in the middle, I think, is the biggest challenge that this entire community is faced with. And to hear some people say that these four-wheelers are out there, they're tearing up class 4 roads, they're doing damage. Just keep in mind, when you're saying that, please take the time, whether you access it by foot, whether you access it by horse, whether you access it in any means possible, before you downgrade these roads and you downgrade the people using them. This is town property. Everybody that moves into a town, it's plain and simple. If there is a town road that goes through your property, you do not own it. You do not have the right to block it. If it's a trail, this should go before the town and the taxpayers before it's ever thrown up. Therefore, just try and keep an open mind here, and I think you'll come to a much better resolution in the end. The other thing, and I'll end on this, I've spoke with 4 different law enforcement officers in the town of Berkshire. Has there been an increase in crime, increase in break-ins? Answer was no. We're not seeing any abundance of new calls. Stop and think, putting law-abiding citizens, which most of these ATV riders are, they're more of a middle-aged group and an older group getting out there and trying to enjoy what they've paid taxes on their entire life so that they can access some of these properties that they might not have accessed since they were a kid. Just keep in mind, all of a sudden you have law-abiding citizens that are watching out for other property owners' rights. They have the ability to report this if something bad goes down from a fire and rescue point of view. When we got involved with a brush fire, with a bad accident, with a place that we have to access back in the middle of nowhere, or it's not easily accessed between 2 towns, it's in the middle. All of these people have responded, gone out of their way to help us at their own private cost with ATVs, snowmobilers, 4-wheel drives. I just don't want this overlooked. I don't want to see it becoming stones being thrown from one side to the other side. I think there's a lot of things here to consider before you make that final decision.
Thank you, Tim.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gordon, and I really don't have much knowledge about ATVs or any of that stuff, but I would like to know what exists right now. Are there trails for ATVs right now? Like the Bass Trail? Is that just in Berkshire? Okay, and it's similar, is it on the Bass Trails or is it all by itself? I won't be able to see.
Not every Bass Trail is Bass.
Okay, and so the Bass Trails are off they have nothing to do with it normally.
Most of them, like I said, we share a few of them on class 4s and that kind of thing.
Okay, so I guess I just don't understand exactly. So everybody, all these towns have clubs? I don't know anything about ATVs. I don't ride an ATV. So I don't know, does everybody have their clubs all around? Are there clubs in Williamstown? Are there clubs around?
Williamstown,
And are they all operating on the premise that it's a class 4 and class 3, which I'm not really sure which that is either.
Some are on private land trails too.
Okay, so someone can tell you, you can go through. I guess my only concern as a property owner is, and I live where it's quiet, but I guess if they were respectful of the property, it doesn't really seem like it's that big of a deal, but I haven't read or seen anything where anybody's proposing to put together a club that maintains, like I'm assuming that you guys in Berkshire keep track of what's going on the trails. Is that true?
If we were allowed to have that corner I'm asking for, we would assume maintenance, signage. We would notify the game warden, who is our policer for ATVs, and we would take care of all that.
And so the difference between a class 3 and a class 4 is just whether or not it's open in the winter. Is that, am I understanding that?
It's probably year-round maintenance.
Okay. All right, just curious.
Thank you, Sarah.
I'd like to say also, helmets are required along with registration, insurance, helmets. And our speed limits are 15 and 25 is our fast speed limit on our trails. That includes roads. That's our ATV speed limits.
And if there's a group of people that violate that, is that something that the group itself would address?
Yeah, I'd be happy to call Jeff Whipple, the game warden, or any officer, any police officer can take care of it. The game wardens have their own ATVs, so they will go out and patrol the back roads.
Okay, just curious.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak?
Yes, my name is Bill Hempson. I live on Williamstown Road on West Hill. We do ride UTVs up on West Hill. We don't have a problem. There's only a few of them up there. We don't have a big crowd of them. We have more problem with speeding cars, bicyclers, and motorcycles than we do with ATVs or UTVs. I've had cars go by my house at 60, 70 miles an hour. UTVs, ATVs, 25, 30 miles an hour tops. Most of them don't even go that fast. But we have no problem with them up on West Hill. We use them mainly to get around from house to house or field to fields. And I guess that's about all I got to say.
Thank you so much.
If it's okay with the select board that I talk, I am a resident of Thetford, but I'm here with Doug as a representative of the West Shore ATV Club. My name is Bill Huff. I am the vice president of the club. There's a gentleman here earlier that mentioned that there's quite a bit of riding going on the Chelsea roads as it is right now. I would like to thank Mr. Ward for his description, I think, of what is a distinct advantage of the Chelsea Select Board actually instituting a policy and an ordinance that describes what ATV use will be used in the town of Chelsea. As it stands right now, there are no rules. Essentially, there's riding going on and it's difficult to control. With an ordinance in place, the select board then can decide which roads will be an ATV trail, which roads won't be an ATV trail. The club then posts those roads to make it well known where an ATV is allowed and where there are not. And we post speed limits as Doug had indicated before, 15 and 25 miles an hour. I've heard a lot of discussion tonight that I think comes from people that aren't that familiar with ATV use. I don't think they are a dangerous vehicle when driven responsibly, and with an ordinance, you're required by law then to drive it in a certain fashion. ATVs don't create all that much damage. We've seen from personal experience, the trails in West Fairley and Berkshire, horses do probably far more or as much damage to a trail as an ATV will. And that's specifically when you come to a stream crossing. Lots of times horses won't want to cross our bridges if they're using one of our trails. So what they do is go around it. And typically the land around a stream is soft. And the horses will tend to punch up that ground and create silt in the stream. And that's why I would say that, or make a case for even horse riders probably doing more damage than ATVs. Again, what Mr. Ward described, I think, was a symbiotic relationship rather than an adversarial relationship between the town and the club. And certainly that's what the West Shore ATV Club has with the towns where we operate now, West Fairley and Berkshire. We do maintenance every summer, and it is in conjunction with the select board. The town will typically supply some of the materials, and the club actually supplies a lot of the labor. And lots of times we'll split the cost of materials so that we're actually, and VASA, the state organization, will as well. So for instance, in Berkshire, we took on a class 4 road last year, and put a lot of time and money into it that would have cost taxpayers considerably more to upgrade that or maintain that particular road. Lots of points to be considered, but just thought my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
What's this?
Sign in.
Oh, okay. Who's not signed in?
You get signed in? Yeah, okay.
Is everybody signed in? Who would like to speak next? Anybody here? Yeah.
Hi, I'm Melissa Sanford. My question, I guess, to the town as well as the club. Is there an ordinance of, time, like need to be stopped riding by 10 o'clock or certain time? Who forces that? I mean, I've had friends who live in Williamstown. They ended up moving. They sold their house and moved because they were parked at their end of their driveway all hours of the night. Nobody policed it. They say that they did. They moved because they couldn't tolerate it anymore. They couldn't go home to silence to enjoy their property. That's my concern. We have police officers that can't even respond to normal crime in our town. We're told you don't pay enough hours. We can't help you. Call the state. Took an hour and a half for somebody to respond to a truck going by shooting on 110. That's my concern. It's pretty low on a police officer's agenda. HED, too bad. We'll see in a couple of days. For instance, it was a few years ago, we had neighbors up, didn't realize my daughter was homesick. They were riding by our house at very fast speeds, called snow machines, called the police. I said, oh, we'll get there in a couple of days. That's my concern. I don't have anything against everybody having a great time. I think that, everybody has that right. But landowners also have that right to be able to go home, enjoy the peace and quiet, enjoy their land as well. We have an animal rescue. People riding by my house constantly means my dog barks all the time. So where do I go from there? Who's gonna help me? Do I get rid of my dog so everybody else can have a good time? Or, I guess I'd like answers to that. I understand you're saying game wardens, cops. So going to be certain hours that they actually police the situation at, busy times. Who do you call in the middle of the night when you have an issue? How fast is somebody going to take care of that issue? That's my concern. Thanks.
Anybody?
Hi, my name is Sally Hostetler. I live at the end of Densmore Road. Beetle Road, which is part of MacGyver, which connects to MacGyver Road, comes right through my property. I have a new driver. I have a 16-year-old learning to drive. Sometimes he drives faster than I'd like him to drive, but we're trying to keep that under control. But it's very, very narrow and it's very steep right where it comes through my property. So people coming off of Beetle Road coming onto a town farm road would be extraordinarily dangerous. Anytime regular cars, because you can't see frequently, like people have to swerve off the road with cars and we're not going fast. It's just really dangerous. So someone in an unprotected open vehicle, it's extraordinarily dangerous. And I also don't want the noise on my property. I've been there 25 years. It's really nice and quiet. I don't need or want that.
Thank you. Anybody else?
My name is Dennis Clement. I live on the end of Beetle Road up by where it meets MacGyver. I've been there for almost 10 years now. And I see the four-wheelers, the ATVs, the Jeeps go by my property on the road, and everybody never once in these years disrespected the road, my property. There was never been one incident. And I actually like them coming by because everybody waves and they don't go speeding by. They slow down, they wave, it's very respectful. And I enjoy it. I have a four-wheel myself, and I drive around the roads, but I'm just telling you my experience in the years I've been here, it's very good. And I would not see one thing bad about it at all. So I'm all for it. Thank you.
Do you have anybody else from the hall?
So then we'll go to the folks online.
Okay. One moment. I'm gonna try to turn the volume way up. And Trev, do you want to start off since I can
Sure.
see you first?
Yeah, sure. I nearly got run over by two ATVs 2 days ago, running way too fast down Town Farm Road. And I believe that every single property owner on Town Farm Road opposes this. Am I correct, Town Farm Roaders? Every single one. So I know it's an enjoying thing to do, but I have friends that come horseback riding up there. That's not a good thing. I go up and down on my tractor. I've nearly hit an ATV before. Not a pretty picture. And my neighbors walk their dogs and I walk up and down that road. This is not intrusive. And if every single member who owns property in that road opposes it, we ask that you respect our wishes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trev, now could we have, I'm just gonna go right down the line. Does the number one that ends in 1232 want to have a comment? Okay, Charlotte Mullen, would you like to give a comment?
Yes, I would, please. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
go ahead. Yeah.
My family are avid ATV, UTV riders. We not only ride around here, we are members of a club up in the Northeast Kingdom. We have many special family riding events. We do picnics. We're very respectful. I understand that some people may have reservations, but I ask people to have an open mind and not automatically judge this on some bad apples, and hopefully rely on the system, the policing system, the state system, local clubs to do their part to keep people respectful and following the laws, because unfortunately there's a lot of people that do and enjoy it and try to be very respectful. And if you look back in history, this is nothing new. Old time Vermonters have had all-terrain vehicles to use for various things, tractors. We all pay taxes. We all deserve the right to use the land. And the roads are only the means of getting from point A to point B that are already ATV systems that generous landowners have allowed us to use. So I would like to look at the bigger picture. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cheryl, would you like to give a public comment? Okay.
No, I'm all set. I don't have one.
Thank you. Devin Thurston, would you like to speak? Okay. Dion Parker, would you like to speak? All right. Dixon, would you like to speak?
No, thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Yes, we want to speak.
Hi, Dion.
Yeah.
Actually, it's Tom.
Oh, Tom, hello.
Dix.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi. This is Dion Parker's husband. We're landowners up on West Hill. And one of the things that hasn't really been mentioned a lot is the noise. And the noise carries so far in this area. In spite of living up high, I can hear motorcycles as they go zooming down below our house. And I can hear them miles away as they continue on. And to add more into this would just be unacceptable to me. And to me, it's strange to feel that a town would feel obligated to be a place of entertainment for people from the outside. And what this does is open up areas that are normally maybe not used by people in the area with their own vehicles. And to have others come in here because they thought, well, this would be a great place to explore. To me, it just adds more noise and confusion and danger and is completely unnecessary. And I just think the town should not feel obligated to provide access to other towns in our area. And also the maintenance, and it was mentioned before that these clubs, they maintain the area, they take care of it and so on. And I just find that we have the vast trail down below us, and every year we have to pick up all of the cans, all the bottles, everything that's left behind from the winter of the snowmobilers. And in spite of what they may say, they leave a lot behind that all shows up in the spring. And to add more into this, it's just not something I think we need to have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Let's see. Heidi Chapman, do you want to speak? Or,
Okay, yeah, I'm here.
hi, Heidi.
Hi, I'm Heidi Chapman and I live at the end of the Densmore Road. And it's still not entirely clear to me like what roads you're actually talking about, possibly opening up, because that was cutting out a little bit. But predictably, you know, the people, when I'm hearing, and it's not surprising, like the people who have ATVs would like more opportunities to use them. That makes sense to me. I understand that. And people who don't have ATVs like myself are maybe like, you know, really have reservations around the amount of noise. I mean, that's for me, that's, you know, I don't mind hearing my neighbors, you know, accessing the Beetle Road, you know, people in my neighborhood, but the idea of, I can't help but imagine, and I know a lot of us will do this, we go to the worst place, but like a lot of traffic suddenly coming into our neighborhood that was never there for and would have no reason to be there otherwise. It definitely would change if that were to happen, a lot of traffic, say people traveling from other parts of the state, because now this is like an expanded network, and our little part of Chelsea is a way to increase the number of loops that people can do. And as far as I understand, this is like anybody who's 12 and up can do this. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I guess what I would ask the town, the select board, because I understand that the select board is gathering information right now and trying to decide whether they would like to propose an ordinance to be voted on by the members of the town. I guess what would feel fair to me if the board decided that this was somehow going to be a benefit to the members of our town and wanted to go ahead with the ordinance, to me, it feels more fair to say, okay, we're going to open up all class 3 roads in town, because the idea of the whole town, all members of the town voting on what's going to happen in just my neighborhood doesn't really quite seem fair. I want everybody to be looking at it as though it's in their own backyard. I don't know if my husband.
Thank you, Heidi. Chris, do you want to say anything?
No, that covers it.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. All right. Let's see who else is on here. Tessa, would you like to speak?
Yes, I just wanted to echo my brother Trev that we walk the Town Farm Road and Densmore Road and Beetle Road and all the time, and treasure the ability to do that safely. And we've had some scares, and think that while there are plenty of responsible ATV users. There are also plenty of irresponsible ones. And as best we can tell, there's no one enforcing it. So I think that's really, really important to try to figure that out before any rules are changed or whatever. It has to be part of the ordinance. And the other thing is constantly aware of noise. We can hear the road all the time whenever a big truck goes by or a motorcycle that's loud. And we would love it not to be an ATV superhighway. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tessa. I think we are nearly, Kate and Steve Thomas, do either of you have something to say?
No, thanks.
Okay.
No, thanks, I'm good.
Okay. Keisha and Jonathan, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, no comment.
Okay, thank you. Patricia Campbell, would you like to speak? Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yes, thank you. I would like to speak. I'd just like to reiterate what Mr. Fernier and Dr. Pomerantz said, and basically everybody that spoke from the Town Farm Road. But the main point that I want to make is that the manufacturers themselves aren't recommending ATVs to be used on public roads. And until that happens, I think it's kind of a moot point for any of us to really be talking about it. When the manufacturers themselves don't recommend it, how are we to second guess them? They know what their machines are designed for. And there's been a lot of research done. Since this issue has come to my awareness that this meeting was going to happen, I've done a lot of research, and the Consumer Federation of America has done a report, 24-page report about this, and not just in Vermont, but all over the place. And their overwhelming conclusion is that it's just not safe. You know, regardless of what we want or what we don't want, or whether there's noise or whether there's bad apples, which I see people go by that are doing a very good job. And, I don't have a problem with that. But then I also see the people that go by that are just, I don't want that noise in my neighborhood either. I'd rather listen to the brook. So I really think that more research needs to be done on the town's part before they even consider the matter.
Okay, thank you so much, Patricia.
Thanks.
Paco de Francis, would you like to speak? I see you have your hand.
Yes, sorry, yes. I had trouble unmuting. Yeah, so thanks so much for making this meeting accessible to people who might not be in Chelsea tonight. So I own land right in the Beetle Road area, right next to Andy and right next to Trev and Tessa Huxley. And I'm definitely terrified of this ordinance going through. I'm terrified of ATVs coming through. I've seen I'm up in Vershire, like in John Hemingway's land all the time, just recreating myself. I've gone hunting there. I've just jogging, mountain biking, that kind of stuff. And that I do not see any benefit of what the ATVs have done on all the class 4 roads in that part of Vershire, what opening that up to our part of Chelsea along Beetle Road specifically, and Town Farm Road as well. I can't imagine any type of benefit. There seems to be this idea that it'll generate tourism and all that kind of stuff. And I went up there last weekend to that little parking lot on the Ward's property. There wasn't a single out-of-state plate. There were a handful of trucks and trailers, but every plate had Vermont plates. This idea that all these out-of-staters are going to come here and shop around and dine and fill up bed and breakfasts or something. There's just no evidence that corroborates that that's a viable tourism strategy. And then the noise is just, there's no way to mitigate all the noise that ATVers bring. So yeah, I'm totally against it. I don't see any on both class 3 and class 4 roads fixed.
Okay, thank you so much, Paco. I think I've called on everybody online, but if you feel like you haven't been heard, unmute yourself now. Okay, I'm going to assume that we've gotten everybody. All right, I think that is the end of.
Yeah, so, so thank you for the, all the.
All right, thank you for all the public comments. As the board agreed, we'll go ahead and get into the proposal from Mr. Stone. And if any board members have any questions for him, we can go ahead and go from there.
I have a question for Doug and I have a question for Rick. Doug, what volume of vehicles are we talking about? You guys have any kind of traffic counts or daily totals? Because I think there's this fear that it becomes a superhighway. But I think it'd be nice to have some real numbers as to, you know, what type of quantity of vehicles we're talking about.
Get together, we get up to 12 or 50 machines that will ride together. If you remember Avasa, you're allowed on the trails and the roads. You know, the groups vary from 5 to 10 to 15 machines, maybe more. I haven't been in a group that big on our system.
So people can get together.
Yes, usually on weekends. It'll be busier on weekends, of course, just like any recreation. And I would like to say that the state law that you cannot have a modified exhaust. So the exhausts that are on the ATVs, unless they've been pulled with their manufacturer exhaust, insurance, helmets. If you're under 16, safety course is required to ride. And then until you're 16, you're supposed to ride with another adult.
Thank you.
And my other question was for Rick. Rick, do you have an opinion as to whether you can not think that it's on our classroom damage condition roads?
I have no problem. I own one and I ride it all the time on my end of town. So if it was legal, it'd be nice. So I have no problem with them.
All right, Mark, Kate, or Jeff? Mark.
I have a question for you, Doug.
I haven't been sledding in a long time. When I did it, getting on the road was something incredible. You could hear the scattering and the stuff that is ripping off. Why are we debating this on the road and you guys not approaching private landowners?
We do approach private landowners and ask, because we're allowed to ride the class 4s in Berkshire, you know, looking at the map. You know, you ride down off Taylor Valley or MacGyver and I wish I could go to ride those roads and make those loops instead of backtracking, you know, so. But we do approach private landowners to get for trails. We do have a few in West Fairleigh. We do not have any private trails in Berkshire.
I've got a question for Doug, since I'm standing right here. My question for Doug is, I think it might have been Sarah who brought up the idea of a Chelsea ATV club. I don't think she was volunteering to start one, but it sounds like there's a lot of responsibility that the town clubs have to the roads that they ride on. And if we were, for example, to open up all class 3 and class 4 roads in Chelsea, that would be a lot of responsibility for something like the Berkshire ATV club. And do you have any knowledge of a Chelsea ATV club forming or of that kind of interest so that the kind of local responsibility stays here in town?
I've had a lot of Chelsea residents call me and talk to me about having a club over here or expanding our club over here. to open up the roads and work on maintenance. Of course, more membership usually means more maintenance and more manpower. It doesn't always compute that way. If anybody's ever been in a club, you know that you see the same faces just about every meeting, but we do work on class 4s and class 3 sometimes too, cutting brush, doing water bars, turning water, drainage, that kind of thing. And when we work in Westphalia or Berkshire, we get permission from the select board first, tell them what project that we'd like to work on, or if they, sometimes they come to us, say, we're doing this, would you want to be involved? And that gives us a chance to jump in on their project and help them with the road too.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add or any questions?
No, I don't have anything. I think people are bringing up good points. And yeah, so that's it.
All right, thank you. So if the board members don't have any questions for,
Somebody's talking.
that would be me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if the board members don't have any other questions, we can use this time to debate and ask questions of each other. Mark?
Got one more.
All right.
This one's kind of for you, Rick. I know. Who maintains class 4 roads? Do you maintain class 4 roads in Chelsea? So the landowner or whoever wants to access that class 4 road is responsible for any maintenance on that road, correct?
Yeah, we never, the only thing we're supposed to maintain is our bridges and culverts out. 20 years. On road for 5 years.
When the culvert washed out.
Yeah. Most of them are such bad shape, not me, mud trucks, just no maintenance of it on.
All right, for those in the Zoom, if you couldn't hear that, Mark asked Rick if they maintain class 4 roads. The answer is essentially no. The town does not.
Well, let's direct the question to the board and because since we finished the public comment period, let's just direct it to us and then we'll sort through it. Go ahead. She can direct. She can ask us. Yeah. You gotta make the motion.
That they could ride anywhere, or is it just those roads that he's looking to access?
So we're at the point where this discussion, we started this discussion based on that request. But to move forward, the board needs to decide tonight whether we're going to move forward with a draft ordinance or not. When we move forward, it will be open to the public to discuss. We will consider what's already been requested. I mean, my personal opinion is that, it is a recreational opportunity. And for us to not consider it at all, maybe is, I personally think that we need to consider it. That being said, I think in terms of the ordinance policy, we'd be looking at each road in a number of factors, safety. Maybe there is a road where every single person, maybe that road doesn't end up being a road because of, public comment about that road during the process. So I don't think that people should think that moving forward in an ordinance means those are the only roads that we're going to look at, or that those roads will automatically be used. I think we need to look at each one in terms of safety, the width of the road, speed limits, access points. I think there's a number of factors that we would need to look at. I don't think we would just blanket let, ATV use be on every road. Maybe the slope of the road's an issue, maybe the number of houses on the road, maybe there's a number of factors, and it kind of depends on the input at the meeting, the meetings, if we move forward in the ordinance as to what we consider. So or less, or one road, or no roads, or, every class 4 road. I think it could be a broad discussion.
Kate has a,
Well, I was going to suggest maybe we could clarify to the town what we're doing now.
yeah, so right now, we're in this point where the members of the board are asking questions of the person or the entity that gave us this proposal. So we want to stick to that point. Board members, do you have any other, do we have any proposed action?
Well, I guess I have a question before we propose action. Are there, from what I understand from, I want to make sure we move forward in a way in which we can have public comment and review of roads, just like Mary Ellen was saying, in a thoughtful and strategic and reasonable, efficient way.
Yeah.
And from what I understand of ordinance process, that doesn't necessarily just naturally happen.
So one thing that the members can do is to move to write an ordinance, and it can have a certain time period. It can have a listing of who's going to be involved and a point to seek additional public comment or something like that. So that's within the authority of the board to move to write that ordinance with those qualifications. If you intend to do that.
Would it be appropriate, and forgive, I tried talking to the LCT about this today. Would it be appropriate for something like a committee to be formed to research what Mary Ellen was just outlining?
Members could move to create a committee to write the ordinance, and you would it would have to be clear as to, what exactly would be done. Anything that comes out of the committee would have to be proposed to the board, and the board would have to approve it. And then the ordinance process goes in place. Let's say the committee proposed, the committee talked with the public, board members were on the committee, made a proposal. The board would approve that ordinance or fail to approve that ordinance. If the board approved that ordinance, we have the process outlined in Vermont statute that says we have to notify the public of the ordinance. We have to post it 5 places conspicuously. We have to put an ad in the paper. We have to make people aware of it within 14 days of approving that ordinance. And afterwards, within 44 days, within that 14 days, also explain that within 44 days, 5% of the registered voters can sign a petition with an article for town meeting saying they would like to disapprove this ordinance passed by the select board. So then we have that special town meeting, or if it's within 60 days of a regular town meeting, we could do that regular town meeting. So that's within the process.
Okay, so my understanding of that process would not necessarily lend itself to more public involvement before the ordinance was already written, and then would put the onus on those who oppose it to collect signatures, which seems maybe like a little bit of an imbalanced way if we're trying to get the public involvement, which seems to be, at least this slice, rather split.
I envision
Mary Ellen?
us drafting the ordinance involving the public in the drafting, then do a first reading and take comments and then revise it based on discussion. I mean, I pictured that being a public process versus a committee, but I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it.
No,
I don't know what people think is easier to be involved in, being on a volunteering to be on a committee and drafting it and getting comments from your neighbors, or coming to meetings like this and giving input. I don't know what the general public prefers, but I think both processes could work.
Jeff, did you have any other comments?
I think we should we should have a committee, nominate 2 people from the public that would represent the opposing views. And the first order of the committee would be to see if we have the signatures to actually have a vote before we put all the work into it.
I didn't understand. Could you just say that again, Jeff?
I think if we don't have the support to get it on a ballot, then should we put all the time into drafting an ordinance?
Well, Jeff, we don't require anything to put it on a ballot. But I mean, if the board preferred to just write the ordinance, that could be done. And then the process is to disapprove the ordinance of the town. If the board wants to, set up a committee, it can do that. Yeah, I don't think we're trying to put
you were
it
breaking
on the
up earlier.
ballot. Although if the board moves to put this on the ballot by a motion for town meeting, I guess we could have that in that article and do it that way.
But I think we need to draft something.
Correct.
In order
The
to put it on
article.
town meeting, we have to draft something.
Yeah,
to
the
be voted on.
article for town meeting would be the ordinance.
Right. All right. So yeah, sorry, you were breaking up, and I thought you said we needed the 5% in order to get it on the ballot.
No,
That's to disapprove.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. The wonders of Zoom.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
All right, members, if there's
What's your
no
opinion?
action,
Does Kate want to, do you have a preference for which
Yeah,
approach you
I
take?
don't have a motion. I want to state that I think that I would like to err on the side of community involvement.
well then
in-
move to do it. We've got to have, we're going to move on if we don't have action.
I would move that we form a committee
I second that motion.
To draft an ordinance?
to draft an ordinance. I'd like to see if we could, maybe Mr. Fernier and maybe Art, which would be obviously 2 opposing people on the views here. Definitely very polarized views, but I'd like to hear both of your views when we're drafting this proposal.
All right, say the names again, Mark.
Mr. Fernier
Okay.
and Mr. Goodrich.
Yep. All right, so a motion has been made by Mark Whitney to form a committee to draft an ordinance for ATVs, and he intends to include Mr. Frenier, Mr. Goodrich on that committee.
Well, I was going to say, I don't.
And just, we'll get you there.
I don't-
Just hold on a
I think
second,
that's a
Bob.
separate piece. I think.
Just hold on one second, Bob.
Let's make a motion to make a committee and then
To-
worry about who's on it.
All right,
separately.
so the chair hears the motion that Mark has made to form a committee to draft the ATV ordinance, and that committee will have members of the public involved on it. Is there a second?
I second.
All right, so Jeff has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion first from the person who made the motion? Mark. Mark.
No.
Nothing? All right, Jeff.
I have no further comments.
Nothing? All right, Kate or Mary Ellen? Kate, thank you.
I would just want to make sure that we put a primacy on communication to the town throughout every step of this committee.
Okay. I mean, I think we should warn the committee meetings, so the committee meetings would be open to the public.
Absolutely.
And I would like to be on the committee. That's the only comments I have.
Yep. All right, so we'll do that. Is there any further discussion from the board before we vote on this motion? All right,
No, we're just voting to form one. We're just voting to go that route and form one it right now.
all right. Anything else, board members? All right, let's, excuse me.
Well, we're gonna vote. Oh, yeah. We haven't voted yet.
All right, so let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, so that's unanimous. The motion passes, and that motion is to form a committee to draft the ATV ordinance.
Why don't we have community members send us an email level, kind of a letter of interest, let us know that they're interested in being on the committee, and then to open it up so that people aren't here tonight know there's an opportunity.
Yep.
You know, and we'll take interest from the public, and then at the next meeting, we'll appoint the committee. That makes sense. I don't think we're in a great hurry here.
So we'll put that on the agenda item as agenda item for the next meeting to appoint the committee.
Well, you could just tell us tonight. If you're interested, my letter of interest is like, it doesn't have to be official. Just let one of us know.
I'd like to be on one side of the thing, Bob's on another side of the thing. I hope the committee is evenly matched. From what I've heard from the folks up on Town Farm Road today and on Beetle Road, I'm gonna see what that.
Right. Well, that's what I was.
Right.
That would be part of the ordinance.
So we'll,
One way or the other.
Right.
So we know there are many safeguards in place to ensure that public opinion and public input is involved. So your board is committed to ensuring that's going to happen. All right, so we're going to move on to other business. All right. All right. You know, we'll just wait until the
Right, wait till they leave.
movement,
Yeah.
dies.
To everybody. A lot about this. Yeah, you will too. But I mean, safety, maybe narrow roads aren't safe, most safe roads, but there may be roads that everybody that lives on it has an ATV. I don't know.
The issue I have.
Maybe they're all adamantly against it. Maybe you don't consider that road, you know? I mean,
We're discussing.
All right, so we're gonna have to.
Mentioned a lot that it's a right.
All right, everyone, we still have other business to do. So if you've got other conversations, could you? Hey, Bill, could you all move out if you don't have any other business or? Pardon? Oh, yes, thank you for taking care of the chairs. Thank you.
no, but there's no, you know, actually there's lots of things to do. Or there's no. There's not.
Jeff and everyone else, we'll get started in a little bit. Folks are moving out because they've finished the discussion regarding ATVs. We still have other business that we're going to take care of as soon as the noise dies down. So I guess we're effectively in a short little recess.
Everyone, thank you much for your time.
Thanks, Bill.
See you, Bill.
Thank you, Doug. I think they all took the maps, but. Thank you. I gave out all your maps. Yep.
Also, I talked to the past president, and he's willing to come to a meeting too. So if you want to get hired through the state organization, and you want to call another meeting, or the committee wants to have a meeting with the Vassar board meeting or both.
Right.
That's what will happen.
Just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so
Just if I might interrupt, she's saying for the road access request under administrative assistant.
All right.
Our audience won.
Thank you. Thank you. And we'll get to there as quickly as possible. All right. So do we have a motion to approve the minutes for 20 July? Mark Whitney has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second? All right. Kate has seconded it. Is there any discussion? None. Let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Jeff, are you there?
He said he'd be back. I don't know.
All right, so that we've got a majority. Yep, so that motion passes. All right, do we have any appointments? None. All right. Administrative assistant report, Gail, thank you. You're up.
What am I doing?
Throw that. Jeff.
Laura? Yes. Okay. So, do you want to look at it? I don't.
Or we'll move it to Mary Ellen.
I think the most important thing is what does Rick think?
So we need to move to approve it.
Yeah, they had it last time. And Rick, when someone fills out this form, you go and look and tell them if they need a culvert and things like that, I assume? Yeah. Okay. Right, but you go look and you make that determination. All right, make a motion that we approve the access permit for Laura Arata. Sorry, I couldn't really.
All right, so Mary Ellen has moved to approve the road access permit for
What's the name again?
Laura Arata. Is there a second? All right, Kate has seconded it. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 That was Jeff.
I heard him.
Jeff is on, all right.
I'm
That
back. Sorry, Kate, I
passes
sent you a
unanimously.
message.
Thank you. All right, do I need to sign this? Do I sign this or Gail?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, next, what other, well, Gail, you're still up. Yep.
I have two, the Better Life Roads and the grants we need for next year. So, grants we need is. What's it called? Grants we need.
Yes.
AID. 3 years, 2020. It's for 20,200 and we have to match 55,000, I don't know, 50. Oh, it's 50/50.
Can you say what the grant was again?
That one's not 50/50.
Oh, matching. Never mind.
That's okay, but I didn't think that one was.
5,050.
Okay.
Well, it could have been, I mean.
Could be a lot.
Which road is that?
Well, no, this one isn't.
No, this is.
The one we're doing now is, this one we haven't picked yet.
Yeah, this is the next one.
Oh, right, the three grants in aid.
So it's 1,200 and how many we have to match? Yeah, we have
Oh, we gotta have it one done this year.
5,050.
So Rick, for a match like that, are you doing it with equipment and your, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if we're doing one this year.
Right.
So we got to put that in our budget.
Well, that's why Rick said he usually does it in kind with his guys and his equipment, so it goes on his budget.
Okay,
We read an excavator.
yep,
Use our own trucks.
okay.
And Rick, do you have an idea of what roads or will that, I mean, there's probably no shortage of, but.
Oh, this one, yeah, I haven't gone around and really picking up the spot yet.
Okay. So that's that one. And then this other one is.
So do we have a motion to,
I do them separately. I make
Yeah.
a motion that we accept or sign the agreement for the 2021 grants and aid,
2022.
2022, that one is, grants and aid program grant, roadway grant.
all right, so Mary Ellen has moved that we sign the agreement for the 2022 grants and aid program grant. Mark has seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Moving along.
Okay. And the next one is for road erosion.
Yeah, it's an inventory.
Inventory. And 2,500 and our in-kind is 625.
What are we doing in inventory, culverts or something?
No, that does the road inventory. It's for like, we ride around erosion, if there's spots that are.
Well,
like culverts and-
but you know, the report that, the plan that we have to have for the municipal roads general permit, does the town have one? You know, you were supposed to do by the end of last year, finish the inventory and do them plan for bringing the roads up to standards by 2025 or whatever. Did Two Rivers do that for the towns?
We've done the culvert inventory.
Yeah, so maybe not. You know, we have to do the annual report. I started working on that when I was in Thetford, but basically it was to do that assessment of every road that's hydraulically connected segments.
Yeah, well, we're working on that.
Yeah, but we don't have a report that prioritizes things for the next 25 years? Okay.
I mean, we do, you know, like that's when we do the grant and aid program.
Right.
We pick the work spot,
Right.
you know, hydraulic connected.
Okay.
Okay, and you said Two Rivers is doing this, and it might come to more, but they're gonna match, they're gonna
Yeah.
pick up the slack on this. So,
All right, so what's our action gonna be here?
They already approved it, didn't they?
No,
So we gotta
we're-
sign the agreements. Once
right.
we win a grant, then you have to sign the agreement.
Yep, so do we need to move, we need to have action to sign this agreement, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so is Kate moving to do such?
Or estimate
All right,
Well, if you wanna read
Mariel's
what
good.
it is, so we know it. I don't know what-
And
which
we've got to
one
read it
this
for the
is.
record, for the.
I know,
proper
this
motion.
is the Better Back Roads, right?
No, I said the road inventory. Is that,
Oh, right, right,
Yeah, that's fine for 100 for the road erosion.
I know, it's just not for the title. Okay, yeah, I make a motion that we approve, right, that we sign the agreement for, $2,500 grant for the road inventory.
All right, Mary Ellen has moved that we sign the agreement for a $2,500 grant for the road inventory. Is there a second? Kate has seconded it. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Jeff? All right.
Aye.
All right, sounds good. So that carries we'll sign that grant as well. All right, what else?
and then,
Yeah.
Marlene Reed wanted to use the greens for,
Yes.
ice cream social.
Marlene caught me at the farmer's market. She said that she was concerned there's a conflict.
Yeah, I asked Karen about it today. Bob Acre's using it the same day.
Okay.
She said there's enough room for the both of them to do what they're doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That's what I can.
it'll be fine.
All right. So do we have a motion for,
Make a motion to approve these?
well, yeah, we don't now. We assume that we've approved them except in the case of conflict. So there's no conflict, then we approve it. All right.
Can you
I'll
tell
sign
me
that
what
one
the
too.
date is for that?
Unless we want to change
Pardon, Mary Ann?
the policy.
What is the date for the ice cream social?
Is it August 8th? No,
Yep, 8 August, Saturday, 8 August.
What was our date for our?
That's a Sunday. This Sunday?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
This Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
At what time?
I think it's 3.
At 2 PM to 4 PM.
2 p.m. 2 to
Thank
4.
you.
Ice cream on. All right.
It's the United Church of Chelsea. All right, so I'll get to that in a little bit. All right. Now we have town treasurer, Gail, still with us. Thank you.
I did up another one because I found this with help of Karen, Phyllis, and James. We all got it worked out, but there was one other error on the,
Yeah, I think I have it, the old one. Looks like.
oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, because it.
No, I didn't print it, but it did match that,
What
so.
I changed was, we had added the appropriations in twice. So we put the appropriation line out. We have a new one.
There's the appropriation. Oh, right here.
Oh, sorry.
Where
We
is
have a new one.
where's the appropriation?
It isn't in there anymore.
Where is
It's
it?
added into the town operating because it was in the budget anyway.
Oh, it was
So-
not operating.
So
anyway?
I ended up
Oh, I see.
doing it twice. I had a line item for appropriations and we didn't need that. So it just worked into the town operating because it's
That wasn't,
already in the budget.
it wasn't operating.
Yeah. So this should be the rate we can use unless our buffer is $90 or over our, approved amount. So that's fine, we can be that, close to it. I mean, Jane said sometimes, we can make the buffer a little bigger. Try to go a little less.
So what are the consequences?
Nothing. And, I mean, we got money coming in from the state and stuff, so we should be fine, stay right where we're at.
What, how does this compare to last year's rates?
It's lower.
Oh, underneath, I see it.
It's lower. The school, school rate is higher, the homestead rate is higher than the non-homestead this year, which happens, I guess, the case going to be higher. Yeah.
What did you say that was higher?
The homestead rate is higher this year.
Again,
Yeah,
you said it was.
it's quite a bit higher. It's not supposed to be higher, but our school budget is so high. That's-
I think a lot of those things want to run is.
Yeah, I question a lot of that. There'll be a lot of money.
So if this is good, I'd like to do the tax bill this week.
All right, so we need a motion to approve this
Tax rate.
The second tax rate.
We theoretically are setting it right now. Yeah, you'll just sit all the work for us.
Right, you know, the whole 40 cents, yeah.
Who's making that?
All right, so Mark
Mark
needs
needs
to
to move to
set
set
the
the tax rate at
2.4405
for the homestead
and
and 2.4139
for
for
non-resident.
non-resident.
Sorry.
It's actually called non-homestead now.
Non-homestead.
All right, is there a second? So Mary Ellen has seconded that. Is there
Any further discussion? All right, so none, so let's vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Jeff?
Aye.
All
Can you
right.
hear me?
All right, so that passes. The motion passes and the rates are set as homestead 2.4405 and non-homestead 2.4139. Was that satisfactory? Good.
Perfect.
All right. So other business that you have for us, Gail?
The ARPA, the funding.
Yep.
There hasn't been any update as to what we can use it, but they did say we're getting it in the next couple of weeks.
How much?
65,000 for this year, and 65,000 about the same time next year.
That's it? Okay, I thought it was.
But then there's
There's
a
words
word
about the other money that could possibly come through that was initially considered for county and Vermont. This is different.
So we don't know how much that could be in the future.
So it could be tomorrow.
Additional funds.
And then that's
Possible.
kind of why, I mean,
Yep.
people soon apply for themselves.
So we have to-
The
But
only
the
other comment I have
comment
about that is I was in the news people called and put me on the TV. And I told them that, we had not received a lot of input from folks in Chelsea, and I asked them if they could spread the word to let people know that the funding is available, will be available soon, so we can have that public input, because as part of the federal requirement, we have to have, opportunity, like a lot of opportunities or substantive opportunity for public comment and input, and how that money would be.
One of the emails that Gail received, it said, hold on to the money until guidance comes out about what we can spend it on. So I think when we're clear on what we can spend it on, then we should open up the discussion at a board meeting. But I don't think random input's gonna be helpful. I think
So-
we need to put that.
So is that, do we know if that information is forthcoming? Like, and
No, I mean, they just keep saying VLCT is supposed to be rolling out more information.
Yeah.
Everybody that's distributing this information is like, things keep changing. We're not really sure yet. Hold on to the money.
So the
That's my take, right?
federal requirements do encourage what we might consider as just public input, just like we would have the public comment period. So it's not that we necessarily have to do anything specific with it, but it's a requirement that, we receive those, not random, but, just whatever, opinions that folks have. But we can do what we can, and we can do what we can with that. I mean, it's our decision to.
This sounds a little bit like normal government, but if accepting public comment at this point about what to use it for before we know what we're allowed to use it for.
Yeah.
That's
We do have that list. It's, we do have that listing of all the.
Very general.
So when
I'll send it out.
When we get more guidance from
Yeah.
VLCT, then once we get that, could we start a process for reaching out to the public for comment, and kind of advertise that meeting as such?
Yeah, I'd be on exactly. I think it should be during a select board meeting, a part of that, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know that and whenever there's public comment, people have as many questions as comments. And if we don't have any answers, it's just gonna I think we want to have some answers and take the comments, that's the strategy I would prefer to use. I don't like to go into something with no answers for people, because, you don't get anywhere. People come and they have questions and they want their questions answered. So by bringing a bunch of people in and then saying, we don't know yet, or thank you, I think that we should wait until we have more information.
So, Gail, will you get like a big alarm when we get the money, or let us know? And then once we get the money and once we get the guidance, then we'll put two and two together and.
There's no hurry on it. It's not like it's 2024 or 26, something like that.
Yeah, 2024 to allocate it, and then 26 to spend. Yeah.
So.
All the time in the world.
What are you talking about now?
All right, do we have anything else on that?
What are you just talking about?
One second, Marianne. We're talking about the relief funding,
Okay,
what's
thank
the
you.
acronym? ARPA.
Thank
The
you.
ARPA funding, and we've had people kind of giving ideas, and we need to wait for VLCT to give us guidance on how the money can be spent. And once that happens and we get the money, then we're going to move forward with getting public comment. That's what we just discussed. Okay.
Thank you.
Okey-doke, thanks, Kate. Now we have a item here. Gail, you're all set?
Well, you have the land trust thing on your agenda.
Oh, I got that later. We've got the AT&T cell tower update. There were some questions about that. I know, Dixon, are you there to provide any other information? If you're available to?
Yeah, I am.
Thank you.
So I have recused myself from involvement in any discussion or deliberation of the cell tower, but I am aware enough of the goings on to provide this update at the request of the select board chair. At present, there are no formal proposals pending regarding a cell tower. Status quo at this moment is that there's no pending proposal. What I mean by that is that AT&T back in the spring had formally sought the opinion of the Planning Commission with respect to a proposed tower at the Sheriff's Department. The Planning Commission responded to that by a letter that was sent back in, it was either late April or early May. AT&T has not responded to that letter by seeking any further approvals with respect to any proposed tower at the Sheriff's Department location. AT&T has, they do seem to be evaluating a different possible location in a field owned by Robert Button off of Creamery Road on the southern end of the village. AT&T has made certain informal inquiries with respect to that proposal, but there are no formal proposals pending regarding either location.
Thank you, Dixon.
Yep, thanks. Does anyone have any questions? All right, so thank you. We're moving on to additional options for online meetings. Kate, I know you're taking a look at OWL and other things.
Going around with my iPhone, but yes, so Karen sent this very cool owl creature that lives in the middle of a conference table and is very apparently, I think they're using it in Randolph or one of the towns nearby. It looks like it could fix everything that we need, except that it's $1,000. So I don't know that we necessarily need to go that route unless years down the line, we find ourselves just like more and more online meetings. But Keisha was very helpful in finding a much cheaper option for us. And we tested it out in the library the other day because she happens to own some of these materials that we could purchase from like Best Buy or whatever. One is a camera that connects to a computer like through USB and would just sit on a tripod. So for example, right now, it would just be sitting on a tripod, like at the end of the table, kind of in the middle, and it's a wide angle. And so it could just see all of us. And there would be a speaker kind of in the center. So there would be no muting and unmuting and no chaos like that. It would be kind of a smoother experience. It would, yeah, but the USB cords are pretty, they can make them pretty long. And I could also sit closer to it. And, you know, if we had a big audience and public participation like we had tonight, I could just turn the microphone and the speaker around. The speaker apparently is very good at picking up who's talking. And that, so speaker and camera would be about $150 to $200. So, and that could work with, it's compatible with Zoom, it's compatible with all of the online meetings in case we, for some reason, wanted to change our platform. And it's compatible with any computers. You just need a USB plug. So it's not, it wouldn't like just work on a Mac or something like that.
So where would we see the people, how would we see the people online?
So that part, we wouldn't be able to see them. We'd be able to hear them with the speaker. We could look into like, you know, a pull down screen with video and everything. I don't know that that's necessarily worth it because almost nobody uses their video when I have them on Zoom. So
everything that I've seen done with this thing, and the more information you try to shove through the airwaves and through your Wi-Fi router, which video uses an ungodly amount.
Yeah.
Compared to just your audio. Yeah.
Well, I know that the library received a grant last year for technology, and they held a couple of meetings for the public to get some idea on how we could use it to help the community. And I think, I mean, to use it for the library, for our meetings, for these meetings, to have it for people to use. If you're in the community, people want to run an online meeting, if we had an hour set up or something like that. I mean, this grant, and I don't think we spent it on anything yet. I think the grant is for 3,000, so even the hour thing is only.
Well, if the library wants to buy this for us.
Yeah. I'll let it run, see if it's come in and use this technology, hopefully something used for the community. I think that'd be a great community. Yeah.
And I think it'd be nice if people were able to use the library in that system, if they had a need. For
Right, like the Masons meeting in there, they might want to use it for online, you know.
Yeah.
You know, other people.
I mean, and yeah, there
Or
are a
even
lot of,
meetings.
there are a lot of town meetings,
Yeah.
like and in fact,
Just meeting next week, I'll fly it by and see if they spend it on anything.
Okay.
But otherwise, the other option for what we're doing, but
Yeah.
that'd be a community need for a lot.
Yeah. Well, and as it is already, like all of the town committees use the Zoom account that we have. So it is like the DRB and the planning
Right,
commission.
right,
And
right.
so,
And it's such a great option having a good setup. People can call in. I mean, people will like it.
yeah,
I think people like to be able to call in and be involved, message in, you know what I mean?
yeah, I think it's worthwhile. And as kind of the unknown of what's going on this year, I would like to move forward, but I would like to hear what the library has to say.
So I mean, I think our first choice would be the owl system, wouldn't it, other than the funding? So
Yeah,
if we could
I
find
mean-
alternate funding.
It seems to work. I'd like to go see it actually before I buy it and see it, be able to use it. You know what I mean?
So there are, I can send around, I don't know if you all got that link
Yeah.
from Karen, but it's got video tutorials on it. I've never used it, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't, the only thing that makes me a little nervous about that is that it is $1,000 and I've never used it. I have used the camera. But we could also, I could reach out to whomever was the town clerk who had bought one and ask their experience and maybe go test it out. Yeah. Okay.
All right, thank you. We'll look for an update soon about that. Transfer station planning for assistant. We have Mark and Jeff on this.
I've got enough.
All right.
First of all, do we have anything in the budget if we wanted to hire?
So we're always, okay, I'm gonna put my sound on so I can hear Jeff. when he talks.
Okay. Oh,
So you gotta mute yours. Crap. All right, I shut the mute. I mean, I muted the thing. All right, so yeah.
Know where we stand?
So Jeff, Mark asked if we had anything in the budget. I said that we were likely right on budget and we wouldn't have anything additional. Is that correct?
At this point, we had written in just a little bit of extra, but we didn't
Okay.
plan on having an assistant.
All right, so that's where we are there.
So
But
the question is, I mean, he needs one, so he says.
How many hours?
If
Yeah,
we
it
don't
says
have any
3
money
hours.
for it, then we're gonna have to wait till next year to budget it in, correct?
unless we have, well, we wouldn't have a surplus in that because we're always running short.
You can
So,
have a huge surplus with administrative assistant.
Well, that's in the general fund. We don't do a lot, we're
Yeah, I don't know
not,
if you can change it,
No.
but I mean, it's the same.
with the highway fund and the general fund, we don't line item, it's not a line item budget. It's overall budget. The budget as proposed and approved is a framework for within the select board's gonna spend. But we don't have to make decisions line by line based on a budget number. We have to have a good idea where we're at overall to see if we can accommodate changes. But we don't need to make decisions based on individual items. Like Rick's got the highway, that's a separate fund. The bottom line is what we care about. If he spends over on sand and under and salt, if he doesn't rent a piece of equipment but buys something else, or, that's how we need to manage the budget. So it's the same situation in the general fund. The transfer station, I assume it's in the general fund because it shouldn't be under highway. we need to make a decision based on where we stand in the overall fund and what our needs are. I don't think we can make a decision just based on that one line item. If we have a genuine need, we need to step back and look further at that fund and see if it can be absorbed or not.
Well, then the question therein is,
I
can we
don't,
absorb it?
I don't, we've, as tight as we've had things in the past, we've not been
Well,
able.
did we review the budget and see where we're at with the percentages and things? I mean, I didn't know that, I didn't know what this
Gail,
meant,
you
so I
gave
didn't
us the,
prepare, but.
yeah, we had the sheet, the quarterly. When did you give that to us?
But I mean, I think we need numbers for this discussion.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah, so the,
well, I know, and
that's,
and honestly, that's the wrong fund, like,
yeah, but we're,
No, I'm putting it in the transfer.
oh, you are? Oh,
it
good.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
But then we
So we're
have,
already at-
then we have telling them,
you're 15. So we are already charging to that line item.
You don't have any money for it.
Right, so I think this discussion is a little late.
but we still gonna have to do something about it. So my take on it was, if we can't manage another person, then we just say we can't and have to plan for it in the future.
Well, why do we need an assistant?
The big thing right now is because he has to be inside running the compactor. He can't be outside keeping track of people.
Well, we did get that email with that comment about an incident that happened at the transfer
That we're gonna
station.
cover that in the executive session as a grievance. That's,
Oh, I think that's public comment, but. I went back and found it today when I was looking for something else. I hadn't seen it previous. So it might,
Well, we could. I mean,
how
if
come
you-
if somebody sends us someone from the community sends the complaint to the select board, is not public comment? It is in every other town.
It
It's not an executive session.
it doesn't have to be.
Well, under public comment, any emails that we receive from the public should be, that's where they should go.
Well, Mary Ellen, it's kind of a two-part. There was action by the town and there was a complaint by the town, and then we have to make a decision, and we might want to discuss it in executive session. Not necessarily discuss our decision, not necessarily what happened.
Well, my point was, my take on the complaint was, it was he said, she said, because nobody saw how many bags the person put into the compactor, which I think is Snook's entire argument, why he needs assistance, because when he's in the house running the controls, he can't see what's happening outside.
Yeah.
We are going to move those controls when we upgrade the compactor. That's the good news. The situation, hopefully, in terms of that piece of it, is temporary, because within that contract with Vermont Compactor, they are hopefully going to do dual controls, but at the very least, they're going to be moved back in a safe location where you can visually see the compactor while you're operating them. But my point was, we got a complaint that there was a disagreement about how many bags were paid for, or disposed of. And that is exactly what Snook, to me, my personal opinion is that's what Snook is saying, that I can't be in two places at once. And we just got a complaint about that very thing. So I think we need to take it seriously, that we need somebody watching.
Well, actually, John Welch was there with Snook and he saw, and so the argument is that John is not telling the truth about how many bags were put in.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
well,
the.
Okay, well, so there's, great.
All right, so.
I just looked, I didn't get the email, so I can't comment because I don't know.
So what do you?
Well, that was the reason, Mariella was asking why it was considered for executive session, and that's what Jeff has just said. So,
I
we
was just
can,
gonna talk about that name wasn't listed in the.
all right.
Well, I mean, it was
Right,
a town
so-
employee, so I didn't think that needs to be secret. I mean, we all know he was there. He was the assistant that day.
I didn't know that, and I'm on the board,
Oh.
but my point is that somebody made a complaint about what's happening there. And it involved whether or not, the quantity was right and what they paid for was what they actually disposed of. So, the specifics are a different issue, but I was just trying to say that,
Yeah, I
You know,
don't.
one person, it is hard to monitor both, to do both.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't arguing that, Mary Ellen. I totally agree.
Okay.
And I just want to mention, the reason we had the controls put on the inside was because of the state telling us that we need to keep everyone certain distance apart, which is possible that it's going to happen again. So this is something else we should consider as well.
And I forget.
You were looking at the dual controls anyway.
Yeah, that's what the plan.
Yeah, that we can have those.
Yes.
Yeah. And did we get an answer on that? Or who's looking into that?
I was under the impression we could. I will confirm that just because it becomes so important.
Okay.
You know, from my discussion, that was the plan.
Physically, it's wiring wise, it's possible. And just to have a key switch in both places and one key. Whether it's OSHA, MSHA, whatever legal, that's a question.
Well,
for somebody.
contact people.
Right, that's
Right.
where I think that's the plan, but like Mark said, there's some details that need to be sorted out. I don't
I
know.
mean,
sounds like we need
you
to
can
sit
wire
down,
up
so
two
I
switches
think
and
we
make it
should
work, whether it's legal to do
advertise.
so is a question.
Well, I was kind of surprised to see this on the agenda because last meeting we voted to create a
Advertise.
position, talk to them and create a position and advertise and to hire somebody specifically for that job.
Well, that's why this is on the
Well, we
agenda.
made that decision last meeting.
So who's gonna put it out there?
Just so you know, the budget as of the end of June, we're at 45% of the transfer station budget, so.
And what about, do you have the percent for the overall general fund or is that not easy to get to from where you're looking?
Mary Ellen,
General.
that's what this is for. The other thing.
We can't retreat. We already just made a decision, so we have to move forward and not go back and evaluate whether we need it or not.
We're not evaluating whether we need it or not. We're supposed to get an update on the status of what we were doing.
That's not.
No. it doesn't-
Okay, that's okay.
not in the stuff sheet, it's just a-
I mean, I don't know, I'd be happy to start publicizing and advertising the position. Do we have any language or I could make something up? What are we asking for? I can make something up when I do that. I mean, like, not.
Well, we're asking for Saturdays, 3 hours. What's the window? Do we know, time-wise? 10 to 1.
And Saturdays, transfer station assistant.
Yep.
Just a high school diploma. I mean, some kids could do this almost, and you don't need to,
Right.
you know what I mean?
High school diploma.
Well, I don't think that's
don't
how
have to put
I
that
don't
in. I'm
want
just
that.
saying.
They don't
We're not
have
looking
to.
for- We're not looking for somebody, you
Three
know.
hours on Saturday, starting as soon as possible. And then like send letter of interest to, we don't really need a resume, do we? But like, letter of interest to the administrative assistant. Should I
Yeah.
ask for a resume?
No,
Or
give me a
recommendation
resume.
or something. Well, we don't- they probably won't be handling the money, will they?
No, probably not. No, there's no reason to. Maybe a letter of interest to veterans.
They may need to act as a substitute at times too, so they may have to handle money.
You're right, Jeff. Jeff's right. They may act as the substitute, so.
It's possible, but ideally they might grow into like, in when Smith wants to retire. you
Right,
know.
so maybe a retire or a kid. You're not gonna find somebody that, you know, has a job all day.
So everybody, there is part of this discussion that we may need to discuss under personnel and in executive session. I mean, just a couple things that we probably shouldn't just talk about out loud in public.
Well, Jeff, wait a second, everyone. So to make sure we're all on the same page, as Mary Ellen stated, we in the past agreed that we would hire a transfer station assistant. You know, this item on the agenda is an update on our status, like where we've gone so far with that action that we agreed to in the past. That's what this item is.
Okay.
The other item, we'll get to that soon, whether we decide to discuss that in executive session or keep it in public. That's it. But for right now, we're given perspectives to Kate, who is going to advertise for the position, correct, Kate?
Yes.
Thank
and
you.
I was just going to start with just local. I don't know if this is like an Indeed.
No.
kind of-
No,
I was
this
gonna
one.
do FT,
Website.
FPS website.
Form.
Yeah,
Facebook.
yeah, start with that, see if we get any cookies and then move on from there.
All right, so thank you. And Mark and Jeff, you all are the transfer station points of contact, so we'll be counting on you to help Kate. Thank you. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Next, we have Vermont Land Trust endorsement letter for conservation easement. I had some information. I had called the point of contact. Is anyone from the Vermont Land Trust online? Okay, so I talked with Britt,
I don't think so.
and he said the main reason we're getting involved and the select board, the town governing body is needed to be involved in this at all is because the Vermont Land Trust is going to borrow money from the state water quality revolving fund in order to help the purchaser. So the VLT can hold the property so that the buyer can buy it in a year or so. So the select board has to approve the use of the public fund for the private transaction. And that's the main reason why we have to sign off on that.
Okay, you said the public fund. Who's public fund?
That's the state fund. So there's a state fund
Revolving
that,
fund.
pardon?
It's the clean water revolving.
Yep, clean water revolving fund that's going to be used to buy the property.
Why would they do
Because
that?
the land trust does not have enough money to buy this.
But
Yeah, but why do they-
conservation, land protection, clean water. If you
Oh,
conserve
yep.
land and make it ag land and don't develop it, it helps keep the water clean.
So also, Mary Ellen, that a nexus to water is they were going to put up a few barriers to protect the wetland. And, I think there was mention of removing some invasives. So that is right on target there.
We gotta write the letter or just sign it?
They gave us a sample.
What was that?
How many acres is this parcel?
It's right here.
47.
It's that big one.
But yeah, right on left, going up Barber Shop.
The barn and that round blue thing, that barn that's that side.
So it is 140 something, right?
Buttons. Those are across the road.
I don't remember them out in this.
Rich button, Rich Feather.
I can't remember which one. I was like.
Yeah, here's a picture. I don't remember how much it is.
That's all right.
I mean, my first reaction was, our town plan recommends we, support land conservation. I don't see any reason we wouldn't support this. I make a motion that, the select board, is it technically a letter of support?
Yes.
Write a letter of support to Vermont Land Trust for the transaction on, Bob and Shop Road.
All right, so Mary Ellen has moved to write a letter of support for private party application for clean water state revolving fund project for the 127 Bob and Shop Road, and Kate seconded that. Is there any further discussion, starting with Mary Ellen, then Kate? All right, Mary Ellen, Kate?
We're not like on the hook for anything financially. Okay, just wanted to be clear about that.
All right, Jeff?
So I'm just curious. It sounds to me like we're gonna vote for the state to subsidize the purchase of this property at the price of like $525,000.
Yeah, that's what that's what it was advertised as price, correct. So what we would do is we would write a letter of support so that the land trust could use the state revolving fund to buy the property.
Now, the long-term effect of this, doesn't that impact like the land values in Chelsea when you're selling, 100 and whatever acres for $525,000, and we're using taxpayer money in order to support that price, and then in the end we're gonna see property values go up? I'm just curious. Because I mean, we're subsidizing someone buying a farm.
Wait a second, Phyllis. What's that, Jeff?
So we're subsidizing someone buying a farm at, or not even a farm, just some pasture and some woodland for $525,000. And, you know, obviously the goal of conserving that land and the water, you know, and improving water quality and wetlands and all of that is good. But the means basically is that we're going to subsidize an inflated price that is going to have long-term effects on the community. That's just what I'm asking. That's
Well,
that's
a
what
short,
it's.
that loan was a short-term financing, wasn't it?
It's
Yeah.
well, it's a year.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's not for 500,000, only part of it, they don't do the whole
Right.
thing.
I think, Jeff, that the point that land that's conserved may have a lower tax bill and bring in less money to the town. But that being said, I think our town plan and our everything that the town supports conservation. So I think we need to consider that. Like, in some ways, conserved land does bring in less tax revenue, but we have stated in the town plan that we support means of conservation. So.
Right, but what is that land appraised at by the town? I mean, I'm imagining that price is like 4 times what we've appraised that land at. And doesn't that have an impact in the overall land values and have tax ramifications down the road if we continuously see inflated prices?
Well, all prices are
Phyllis?
inflated. I mean, all prices are inflated this year. Every place is sold in this town, it was inflated this year.
But the
For that-
point is that that's, if I sell a house to you at inflated price, that's you and me. This is us endorsing, as a town government, endorsing that. Now, that's where we kind of hit a little bit of a roadblock.
I don't see that we're endorsing it just because we're helping them.
We're writing a letter of recommendation. That's an endorsement.
Yeah, so what I hear you say, Mark, is we'd basically be endorsing the use of the public money to
It's probably get paid back.
yeah.
I don't think the offer was 525. I thought it was 400,000.
But conservation wouldn't be that much. Conservation might be 150. Did they say how much they're going for?
No, but it was on the, I mean, it was
The point
listed.
isn't what they're paying and what whoever else is paying.
Yeah.
The point that Jeff is making is that it's an inflated price, and by approving this, to write a letter of recommendation for this, we are endorsing that inflated price.
Well, it's not really inflated, it's market price.
It was
It's
on the market
now.
with a realtor. It wasn't a private deal.
The market is up, it's a market price. It's not
Right, but the whole thing is that these people can't afford the market price, and so they need to get the land trust to subsidize the payment of the price, but then the land trust, because it's so inflated, needs to get some more money to subsidize it. So that's all I'm saying, is because once this land goes for this price, it is eternally out of reach of many people who are local to both Vermont and to Chelsea.
Well, isn't that price what's being asked for right now on the market? Like, it's going to get purchased at this price, sounds like regardless, right?
Well, wait a second.
People are buying
Well,
things that they can do right now.
there is a concern that, so I talked with Britt, and he, you know, the plan is for the buyers to lease it and then buy it a year later. It's possible that they might not buy it a year later, might not be able to, I don't know. But their plan is to use the state money to buy it. My concern is that we would be endorsing the use of the state money to fund the public property, to fund private property.
Isn't that what this particular fund is for?
No.
It's a
No,
fraud.
but for land.
No, this is a unique case that they have not worked out before, where they're using this fund to purchase a property.
So what is,
Ordinarily, the land trust has their own money.
No, I understand that. What's the fund for then?
Clean water projects like wastewater,
So
stormwater.
they don't usually buy.
No, I specifically, Kate, I explicitly asked for the nexus to water quality, which is what that fund is used for. And they said that Britt mentioned that, you know, there has to be some nexus. So what they're doing is they're doing some work with invasives, and they're creating breaks and buffers to prevent to protect the wetlands from agricultural activity. So
There's a lot of wetland there too.
usually there's other activity. When you look up the projects that have been funded from that account, there's a lot of other activity.
I guess I would like to see the land be protected under the VLT. But that's my, as long as that is above board. The price of the property, I think, reflects where we are in a very abnormal Chelsea real estate bubble. But I don't know that that's anything that really pertains to the discussion.
All right, do members have any other questions or debate? Each person has talked at least 2 times as the parliamentary procedure provides for, but our custom is to allow additional debate as needed.
Can I ask a question?
Well, we're in the let me ask if Jeff has anything else, and if the members don't object, we'll let you have your question, Marianne. All right, what have you got?
I don't have anything further.
What happens if Chelsea refuses to write a letter of support? What if Chelsea does nothing? Then what happens?
All right. So I don't know. We would say the motion did not pass and we did not do it. The sorry, Gail, did you say something?
I briefly read what he sent to you, and it sounded like they do it whether you support it or not.
People like to have the support of the municipality when they're doing a project in town. Just like everybody, you know, there's a lot of requests like this. When somebody wants to put solar in town, they want the town to, you know, so I think it's a general support of the project. I don't see this as endorsing a loan application or a grant application through a particular process. I see this as a letter of support for the project, but that's my personal opinion. And I do support conservation.
I don't think anyone here doesn't approve conservation or support it. My parents' land is conserved, our portion is. That being said, that this is a little more of a unique situation. 2 things bother me about this. One is the whole clean water, borrowing money that direction. The other is that it's no guarantee that they're going to be able to buy this land. I mean, if they had a loan officer all set, signed right up saying, yep, this is a done deal. As soon as all the paperwork goes through, we've got the land. That would be one thing. But it's entirely possible that after a year, they've agreed to pay taxes on this for a year, the land trust. It's entirely possible after a year, they decide, well, we don't like the location, whatever. We don't like the ATVs on the road, whatever. Doesn't matter. We don't want to buy it. And then we're out taxes. We have a piece of land in limbo.
Well, isn't the Vermont Land Trust buying it with these funds? So they will own it no matter what. In that year, isn't that just for transferring ownership to the people looking to?
Yeah, provided that the other folks can buy.
Provided that the lease agreement.
But if that doesn't work out, Vermont Land Trust is still going to own this. It's their risk.
Someone else's name is gonna be on some of the other.
Initially, though,
Like 300,000.
generally, but in this case, it seems
No,
as
it's
though
gonna
Vermont
be-
Land Trust is buying it
It's in its entirety.
in its entirety. So as soon as that transfer goes through, we will have an owner and somebody paying taxes, Vermont Land Trust. It seems to me that beyond that, the risk is theirs. Whether or not the people that they're trying to buy it with or from or who, you know, what.
Somebody's gonna come up with a range of money.
Vermont Land Trust
They're
is,
only coming up with 300.
well, no, they're,
Rick,
but they're getting loan money for it, or grant money, loan money.
Rick, the land trust is going to use that revolving fund. so that they don't have enough money to buy it outright. So they have to use
Right.
the funds so that they can buy it outright and then sell it.
Right. Right, so like for the town, Vermont Land Trust is separate of us endorsing or not. Vermont Land Trust is getting this loan because they want to sell a portion of it to these new owners. But in terms of the town's land transfer, Vermont Land Trust is going to buy it from the town and it'll be in Vermont Land Trust's name until they do some, you know, sell it to, or deed it over, or however they want to add them to the deed, or I don't know how they do that process, but.
Yeah, they've got all the process.
Right, so I mean, initially, it sounds to me like they're gonna buy it from the town at whatever price.
Buy it from the town.
Oh, yeah,
From the
sorry,
button.
I didn't buy it from the town, I just buy it from Buttons and, you know, become the owner. Right.
All right, do we have other discussion? Jeff?
No, I don't have anything else.
All right, so let's vote on that motion to sign a letter of support for a private party application for clean water state revolving fund project 127 Bob and Shop. I think that is the correct number, right? Yes, all right, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, that's 2 ayes. That's Mary Ellen and Kate. All opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
All right, that's 2 noes.
So, Babar.
I'm gonna abstain, and it's not gonna, I'm gonna abstain, and then it's not gonna pass.
Tie. Tie is a fail.
Correct, so the motion does not carry.
Okay.
So a question for parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, because I don't.
All right, so the motion has, so you have to, in order for it to be approved, you need to have a majority of the board. So 2 members is not a majority of the board, so.
I thought that general process was the board, the chair, but you, yeah, you abstain, okay.
All right, so we'll move on to our next item. I misplaced my agenda. There it is.
So who is gonna contact them and let them know that,
I'll do it.
okay,
All right, so we have orders next on the agenda. Is there a motion to approve orders? Mark Whitney has moved to approve orders. Is there a second?
I can do it.
All right, Mary Ellen has seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, Phyllis or Gail, whoever's doing minutes, you have the numbers available for the minutes? All right, thank you. All right. You don't have to read them as long as we got them. If you got them, as long as we have them available. Okay. So there's no further discussion. Let's vote. All in favor for approving orders, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. Jeff?
Aye.
All right. So the motion to approve orders passes. All right. So Jeff, you wanted to add a farmer's market agenda item?
I withdrew. I want to add it on to the next one. Not being there, it's very difficult to communicate over Zoom.
Okay, so we have 2 items for executive session. So we'll move, if there's a motion, we'll have a motion to go in executive session for human resources. And then we'll come out of that one, and then we would have a motion to go in executive session for transfer station agreements, and we come out of that one.
Well, the first one Gail can stay for, right?
Yeah, let's see what it's, so we've got to make that clear in the motion. Because the human resources should be the hiring, like our status and update for the hiring for administrative assistant. Yep.
Invite any members of the committee that are in attendance to join
Okay,
us.
so is there a motion to go in executive session?
I make a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing the administrative assistant position. And I would like to invite the committee members that are in attendance to join us.
All right, so Mary Ellen has moved to go into executive session to discuss the hiring for administrative assistant position and has invited committee members who are in attendance. Is there a second? Mark Whitney has seconded that. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in
you,
favor,
Rick.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, Mark. Motion carries. All right, we're going to go into executive session, so we'll ask all members of the public to leave us. Thank you. And we'll ask Kate to turn off the recording and put folks in the waiting room.
So,
All right, so we've left the executive session and we have other folks that we're going to have to bring back in.
we're letting Mary Ann is back in.
All right, so we open the door, see if there's any members of the public outside still. No members of the public outside.
Don't have a cop to the door.
Yeah. All right. So we've ended executive session. We've made taken no action in executive session. But now we're outside of executive session.
I would like to make a motion to hire Mary Ann McCann as the select board, for the select board assistant position.
I second.
All right, so Mary Ellen has moved to hire Mary Ann McCann as the administrative assistant, and it has been seconded by Kate. Is there any further discussion? All right, let's vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right, the motion carries.
Maybe you should discuss who will meet with her and go with pay and all that stuff.
All right, so someone will, let's see, which of us is gonna be me.
I think you get to do it.
All right, so it'll be me. All right, so I will be responsible for contacting Mary Ann. All right. So do we have, I know we had some discussion earlier. Do we have a motion to go into executive session for transfer station grievance or not? All right. So if we don't have a motion to go into executive session for transfer station grievance, then we would just talk about it publicly.
Do you want me to say what I was told, and then someone can read the letter? Unless everybody's read the letter, we don't need to.
I think we need to read the letter first and then.
Oh gosh, can someone else pull it up? I'll get it.
I didn't get the letter.
All right, thank you.
That's the one?
Yeah.
All right, so it's addressed to me, probably because I'm the chair.
You got it.
All right, dear sir.
Their position. You were duly warned.
Yeah, I know. All right, so here's the letter. Dear sir, living in the area 25 years. I've been using the transfer station many years. Our property is in South Washington. This Saturday, I dumped some recycling and a contractor bag of household trash. When I went to pay, he, Snook, insisted that someone else, not him, saw me put 2 bags in. I said I hadn't, and I could show him the one and only bag still in my truck, empty. But he insisted I pay for 2 and told me I could no longer come to the station because I questioned him, ? All I can say is I truly dumped only 1, and while I paid for 2 at his insistence, I would like to be able to put trash there in the future. He told me to take it up with the select board. Louis Pomerantz, and we have a phone number, and it's 189 Chelsea Corinth Road, Chelsea,
Yeah,
Vermont.
Well, first of all, they're not in Chelsea anyway.
Yeah. All right, so Jeff, that's the
right. What'd you
Jeff
hear?
asked that I read the letter.
All right, so
So remember, we're not in executive session.
right, so I showed up soon after this incident, and Snook, who runs this transfer station, let me know that his assistant, he specifically said to his assistant, watch this person because I've had problems with him in the past, not telling us how many bags he's thrown in. And so the assistant watched him, saw him put 2 bags in, and they charged him for it. I personally, at this point, I guess the first question would be, does he actually live in Chelsea or not?
He said he doesn't.
Okay, so the second thing is, if we're going to not allow him to come back, which I think is a good idea, because that job is it's every Saturday, 100 degrees or 20 below, and to have a guy who, this isn't his first run-in with this kind of situation around town, causing trouble for people is, it's just unacceptable. And, there's no need to add extra stress to people's lives. But if we're going to not allow him, we need to have some sort of process so that, we can hear his side. We can tell him, we can have the town give their side and make a decision based on the information. Because if we do kick him out, and there's a possibility that he could have legal ramifications if we kick him out without some sort of process.
Well, I know that Dick Adams used to turn people away. I knew a guy lived up Pepper Road far enough where it was Washington, and he wasn't allowed to use it's a town of Chelsea facility. I had thought that even if we don't charge anything, we should have little permits or something on people's cars. I mean, some places charge for like a permit to even use the facility. But after I heard this story, I'm friends with a guy that lives at the end of Pepper Road. He told me this story years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, if you would live in Washington, why, that is somewhat tax subsidized. I mean, there's expenses associated with that. That's not covered from the costs of.
Right.
So I think we do need a policy that says this. I don't know that we need a policy, but it's residents only.
Residents, like, you even have to deal with the he said, she said, or
Right.
he said.
You can't go to Royalton's
Right.
transfer station unless you've got a sticker.
Right. I mean, it's hard because we have a sticker and we don't have a set process, but I thought it was pretty, I thought it was pretty obvious.
Maybe we should say that people who are not resident or do not live in town or own property in town and have a second home in town are guests of the town. And we reserve the right to ask anyone not to come back who is not a resident. And then that handles that side of the problem. Because, well, the thing is, there are people who live right across the line on the Turnpike or Pepper Road who, it's 2 miles down the road, but they have to drive all the way into Chelsea and then around to Washington to go to the transfer station. I mean, do we want to just say nobody can go? Because I think either you say nobody can go, or you say we reserve the right to not do it, or everybody can go and we have to treat them as residents. Those are the 3 options.
But I mean, I think as long as it's subsidized by taxpayers' money, that if we are to allow people that are not residents, is probably not the right word, because they should pay more, maybe. Right. They should pay for or pay more. I know we should. This is, I think, a lot. I think this is going to require more discussion than we have time for tonight. Can we put this on a future agenda?
Yeah, we can, and then we'll make it explicit what we're gonna do. Or what we expect to do.
Short term, LeVar, you going to respond to this short term? Or want me to?
No, I can. It's
Just
just,
you,
I can, but I want a consensus as to what we should, what we should do, because I'm just one member.
I think currently you say the dump is, the transportation is only for people who live in Chelsea. And so that is the issue, really. And then we would be.
We left a lot of people in there after Chelsea.
I know, but I don't know that we did previously, so I don't know whose direction.
So something else to remember is he has a partner or a wife that lives with him. So he's not the only one that can come to the transfer station, and Snook didn't say she could go. He actually said that she's really nice and there's not any issue there.
I don't.
Yeah, I think.
Short term, we apologize because he felt as though we were calling him a liar. So we need to apologize, leave it at that. Sorry you had a bad experience. We are evaluating our policies currently. And, we will get back to you. But I think we should apologize for his bad experience.
And then
without
we'll
passing blame.
and then we'll welcome him to the next
Right.
meeting where we have another
Yep.
agenda item too.
But maintain that he isn't to go back until we've reached a conclusion.
Do we want to make that decision?
Go back for what? What do you say?
So Jeff is asking if we tell him that he can't come back until we've decided how we're going to manage transfer station, town versus non-town.
Unless we have a camera or something.
Thinking, like, I don't think we can really have enough making decisions about who can and cannot come unless there's like a public safety issue of like someone
Threats.
being silent or
So
something.
I can't hear anything that anyone's saying, and
You gotta be louder.
Oh, I had my thing on mute. I was just saying that I don't think that we can have Snook or anybody making a one-off decision about who can and cannot come to the transfer station unless that person is being violent or is like a threat.
so here's the problem though, is if people are giving, like, there are people who are throwing trash, like plastic bags in the compost, and Snook has said, you know, if you keep doing that, you can't come back. This guy was warned in another occasion that he needs to, you know, stop messing around, and then he did it again, and he was asked to not come back. You know, we're going to apologize, and then we're going to let him come back, and we go directly against what our employees are saying. Everybody's echoing. Now I can't hear anyone.
All right, I think you should be good now, Jeff. Jeff, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, so you said your concern is that we apologize and contradict what the town employee had said.
Right. I mean, we're basically, so if we were to turn this into a situation where, you know, like working in a restaurant, you have someone who is doing something they're not supposed to do. The bartender is the one who's running the place at that moment, or the manager is running the place. The owners aren't there. If something happens that shouldn't be happening, those people that person would be asked potentially not to come back until the owners have a chance to make a decision. This isn't like crazy. We're not impeding his free speech. We're not impeding his property rights. This is something he's basically a guest of the town. He isn't even a resident. And he, you know, this isn't the first run-in he's had.
No. As I understand it, that
Well,
is
we have a
correct.
better way of documenting this.
We don't
too.
have a way
I
of
know, we
documenting.
do
It's
have
not
to if we're going
documented
to.
from what
We should have a log for every incident, that Snook just writes down what happened, you know, the basics.
I don't think we'd be out of line apologizing for his bad experience and telling him not to come back until we've reviewed this later on. I think that's well within our ability. And we tell everyone else, you're gonna have to come back next time when it's on the agenda, so.
Right. And we could say request that you refrain from, you know, kind of keep it like we're requesting that
You can word it nicely.
word it like we're asking him not, you know, we're not, you know, we're saying we request that you know, do not use the facility until we have a chance to further review this or something, but I would use like a word like request or something, so it's not.
You can fluff it up however you want, Laverne.
I got it.
Can I make a motion to?
I didn't hear.
Can we adjourn? Can I make a motion to adjourn?
I second that motion.
All right, so the motion to adjourn has been made by Kate and it's been seconded. But I want to make sure that everyone has had an opportunity to speak on this transfer station before we're done. Is there any further discussion? All right, so is there any further discussion on that motion? All right, so let's vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It was seconded by Mark. All right. Kate, you gonna vote?
Aye.
All right, so the motion passes.